Sleeping more doesn't automatically make you feel rested. In many cases, it actually makes you feel heavier. Not because sleep doesn't matter, but because your nervous system needs something before sleep can truly restore you. Many people don't wake up tired because they slept too little, but because something inside them never finished the day before. And when that inner transition is missing, your system keeps working at night, even while your body is lying in bed. If you think your sleep problem starts at night, this video starts exactly where you don't expect it to. In Japanese thinking, good sleep doesn't begin with counting hours. It begins with a different question. Was the day brought to an inner close? And that alone determines whether 5 hours feel calm and clear, or 9 hours still leave you waking up heavy. In Japan, there's a saying that roughly means, sleep doesn't begin in bed. It begins with the final inner cut of the day. For many people, mornings don't feel dramatic. They just feel dense, like it does for Jory. Jory is in his early 30s, nothing extreme, no chaotic lifestyle, just a normal person with a full day ahead. The alarm goes off. He gets up, his body works, his eyes are open, and yet something underneath feels heavy. Not tiredness in the usual sense, more like an inner weight that's already there before the day even starts. Before a clear thought appears, there's already tension inside him. Not a specific worry, not a concrete problem. More like background noise that switches itself back on. For Jory, it shows up in that brief moment where he stays in bed, pulls the blanket over his head, and wants to keep the day at a distance just a little longer. Not because he's lazy, but because something inside him isn't ready to re-enter yet. Coffee helps for a moment. Movement brings short clarity, but the underlying feeling remains. It feels as if the day has already begun, before he has. For a long time, Jory thought this was stress, or bad sleep, or simply not enough recovery. In Japan, it would be described differently. They would say, yesterday is still present inside you, and as long as that's true, no morning truly starts light. In the West, we were never taught how to end a day internally. We go to bed because we're tired, because the clock says so, or because tomorrow is waiting. We don't consciously decide to carry thoughts into sleep, but the nervous system knows very precisely whether something has ended or was merely paused. Anything without a clear endpoint stays active, and when conscious thinking quiets down at night, the part of your brain responsible for safety, memory, and habit takes over. That part doesn't work to rest you. It works to organize what never received closure. That's why some mornings don't feel like a new beginning, but like a continuation, not of sleep, of yesterday. Imagine a child who gets interrupted while playing. The game isn't finished, it's just stopped. Internally, the child keeps playing. They become restless, distracted, irritable, not because they're difficult, but because something remained open. That's how your inner system works. It doesn't always need a solution, but it needs an ending. Something can remain unresolved, like a game continued tomorrow, but it can't simply break off. What doesn't end internally stays active, and that's what you take into the night. In Western thinking, we try to calm inner tension by understanding it. We look for answers, explanations, insight. In Japan, there's a clear distinction between two approaches. Kaido means finding an answer. Kaiketsu means bringing something to an inner conclusion. For the unconscious, this difference matters deeply. It doesn't need explanations. It needs closure. Without it, the system remains active, and active systems don't rest deeply. In Japan, there's a principle that's rarely explained, but deeply embedded in everyday life. It's called kugiri. Kugiri means consciously marking an end, not by analyzing, not by solving, but by making a clear inner cut. Kugiri doesn't ask whether everything is resolved. It only asks, does this part end here? Many people keep carrying their day because they believe they have to hold on to it. In reality, the day is holding on to them. An inner ending can be small, a quiet sentence, a deliberately placed period. Not today, not as avoidance, but as a boundary. In Japanese thinking, mind and body aren't separate systems. An inner ending only stabilizes when it's also marked physically, because the nervous system doesn't learn through meaning. It learns through repetition and structure. That's why a day doesn't end only mentally. It ends sensibly. A light is switched off deliberately. Hands are washed. A window is closed. A calm breath is taken. Not as a ritual, not for relaxation, but as a signal. The body learns, something ends here, and that signal gives the nervous system safety. Not silence calms it, not darkness. Clarity does, just like with children. They don't sleep better because everything is perfect, but because routines are predictable. Not every day is calm. Not every evening is clear. Sometimes the ending is small, messy, quiet, but it still happens. In Japan, perfection isn't the goal. Continuity is. The unconscious doesn't recognize ideals. Only two states, open or closed. A small ending is better than none, especially on chaotic days, because that's when the system needs a boundary most. Up to this point, many people think the key is ending the day better. That's true, but it's not the core shift. The deeper difference happens earlier, not in what you end, but in what you never carry forward. Many people believe ending means mentally reviewing everything one last time. The opposite is true. The more you internally reprocess, the more active the system stays. Kuguri isn't reflection, it's a stop. And that's why it feels unfamiliar. After a while, something unexpected happens. The morning feels different, not euphoric, not spectacular, but calm. Thoughts don't disappear, they just aren't preloaded. The body wakes up without needing to catch up internally. Not because everything is solved, but because nothing is pulling forward. This is where freshness appears, not from more sleep, but from carrying less. Eventually, it's no longer about sleeping better. You become someone who ends the day internally before entering the night. The morning isn't a battle, not a reset, not an inner cleanup. It simply begins. Discipline isn't what you do in the morning. Discipline is what you no longer carry at night. And if that feels uncomfortable, that's a good sign. Because that's exactly where quiet ascent begins.